There was a time when all of Europe was burning in flames, when death, fear, and destruction ruled the land. And in the midst of this darkness, one man, with his voice, with his passion, and with his will, was about to lift an entire nation. That man was Winston Churchill, a figure whom people either remember with deep love or bitter hate, but never ignore. This is the story of a man who, at every turn of life, either won or fought on, and sometimes, even in defeat, managed to win. On November 30th, 1874, inside England's Blenheim Palace, a child was born, whose name would one day be carved into the golden pages of history. His name, Winston Leonard Spencer Churchill. Winston was born into an aristocratic family. His father, Lord Randolph Churchill, was a renowned politician, and his mother, Lady Jenny Jerome, was an American socialite. The palace he grew up in was grand, but the rooms of his life lacked warmth. His parents were often distant. He spent most of his early years with his governess, receiving affection from her instead. School life wasn't easy either. Winston was an average student. His handwriting was poor, and he often clashed with teachers. But one thing was in him from the very start: an unyielding self-belief that he never let go of. After school, Winston joined the military academy. He saw his first postings in India and Sudan, and it was here that he discovered a new identity, that of a writer. While bullets flew across the battlefield, Winston would sit with his notebook, recording his experiences. His war reports began appearing in London newspapers, and gradually, Winston transformed from a soldier into a writer and journalist. This gift for writing would become the foundation for his political speeches. In 1900, Winston stepped into politics. For the first time, he became a member of Parliament. And right from the start, he was known for his bold and controversial views. But in politics, boldness is rarely safe. In 1915, during the First World War, Winston planned a risky military operation, the Gallipoli Campaign. The operation turned into a massive disaster. Thousands of soldiers died, and the blame fell squarely on Winston. He resigned from his cabinet post. The bright star of British politics suddenly fell into darkness. At that time, many believed Winston's career was over. But his answer was, success is not final, failure is not fatal, it is the courage to continue that counts. During his political exile, Winston spent his time writing and painting. But deep down, he was preparing for a comeback. By the end of the 1930s, Europe faced a new threat, Adolf Hitler. And when, in 1939, the Second World War began, Britain needed a leader who could pull them back from the edge of defeat. In 1940, Winston Churchill became Prime Minister. His speeches were not just words. They were fire that lit courage in the hearts of his people. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall never surrender. It wasn't just a speech. It was a nation's war cry, metal. After the war, Churchill made his mark not only in politics, but also in literature. In 1953, he won the Nobel Prize for Literature for his historical writings. Over his lifetime, he delivered more than 5,000 speeches and wrote thousands of pages. But perhaps his greatest legacy was the spirit that taught every generation: never give up. The story of Winston Churchill is not just the story of one man. It is the story of resilience, of a human spirit that refused to be broken. He faced humiliation. He tasted failure. He knew what it felt like to be cast aside. To be told, your time is over. But he also knew that time is never over, as long as the fire inside you still burns. When the storm came, he stood like a wall. When fear gripped his people, he became their voice. When the world seemed ready to collapse, he held it together. Not with sheer power, but with sheer will. Yes, he was not perfect. He had flaws. He made mistakes. But maybe that is why his story is so powerful. Because it proves that greatness is not about being flawless. It's about standing back up every single time you fall. Churchill once said, "Kites rise highest against the wind, not with it." And in his life, he rose again and again, because the winds against him only made him stronger. So when you face your storms, when the world says you cannot, remember this: you do not need the perfect moment. You do not need the perfect conditions. You only need the courage to continue. Because in the end, history does not remember those who never failed. It remembers those who refuse to stop trying.